Oh boy, what a difference a day makes, my friend. I've been working on electron flood theory for many years. And I have come to the conclusion, and I right now have proof of this, I believe it's absolute proof, that photons of light are constructed of this. I can absolutely prove this, of a positive and a negative particle, back to back, two of them, and I can show you that, and I will. Now, I believe that half of that is an electron, and electrons have our traditional negative, extremely aggressive, interventionist particle that goes and attacks things, electron, electricity, lightning, static, boom, bada boom. All right, so what I just said was the photon is back-to-back electrons. We never knew the electron had a dark matter particle attached to it, the muon. Nobody knows this. It does. I can show you this, and absolutely I can show you that's a photon, and absolutely I can show you that the electron disassociates itself from the muon, and we will see this. As they impact, this is what happens. They separate. Now, my interpretation of the nucleus is that they consist of these electrons, all right, and 1837 of them equal a proton. So let's say there was 1837 of these, and each one of these was a back-to-back electron. You don't see the dark particles, but you see the powerful particles, the light particles. Now, let's say there was 1837 here, and that would control one extra one laying around out here, which wants to get in to the dark matter, which is the attractive portion of this, but it's got a complement of electrons. It says, no, we have enough here, you stay out there. And it stays in an exact quantum distance. It's called an angstrom unit distance. Yep. And it's a certain distance away, and it's trying to push its way in there. It can't. Now, because of the electron flood theory, every single thing changes. All of the particle physics has to change, 100%. I mean, some of it is observable, and yes, it is still valid. However, the original concept of what the atom's core is has to change. Now, so I thought it was strictly like this, a ball of dipole electrons, and then because of the mass of it, a certain number would try to get in to the dark part of what's in here, which is the attractive part, and that would be the electron cloud we would consider the orbitals. Well, now, I think I might have a different interpretation, and the reason is because I saw this hat. This stuff just slays me, the things that interact with other things. You say, well, Roger, why would this hat make a difference to you? Well, I think I see light coming to Earth. He's, oh, come on, Roger, where are you coming with that? Well, here's where I'm coming with it. You see these bands? You see these little dots? You see the little dots here? And then in between you see a similar thing, but a different number of rings around the dot in the center. Well, let me show you something. You see this right here? You can see that, yeah. Well, you know what? Let me put it down on the top. Let me point this down here. Yeah, let me do this. And you know what? Let me do this. I am going to do my special lighting effects here. Hold on. Because this is so worn out. This is ferrous film, and you put it on top of magnets, and it shows you the magnetic field. And what do you think you're going to see for a magnetic field if I put that on there? What do you think the magnetic field like? You think you're going to see big stripes and things? Well, guess what? Here's what you see. A black spot in the middle and white all the way around it. You see that? And every magnet does that. I don't care what shape it is. If it's magnetic, it will do that. You see that? I'm wiggling it like this. On the other side, if I turn it backwards, same thing. Now, what happens on the side? What do you think is going to happen on the side when I put it here? Watch this. The white goes in the center. And I see the black go on the sides. There's one right there. And I tip it the other side. There's the other side. You see that? Now, that's because this is flat. Now, in space, this cannot happen. In the air, even. Any magnetic field is going to turn round, basically. Now, let's look at one of these little magnets. All right, look at, see here. You see what it is? Now, watch what I can do here. Here they are. Now, you see how that's round, and that's what you get is round. Whoops. These are square, or not square, rectangle, but that's what you get is a rectangle. See it? Now, I have two of them face to face here. Watch this. Right down the center. Between the two of them, you see it? Just like we had before on the sideways of this one. And if you go down around, you just get back to the white again, the same thing on that side. Now, I find this extremely interesting. Now, watch this. If you take one of these little balls, and you put this on top of it, you see what it has here? It depends where it is. You see it's perfectly round now? I think you can see that. Let me scoop in there a little bit. Alright, you see how it's perfectly round now? The dark in the center. And now it's going flip-flopping. See it flip-flop? And there it is. Right, the white is in the center now, black and white. Well, again, this is not going to happen outside of being gravity holding it to the table. Now, if I put two of these together, let's see what happens. Well, they just do crazy things. Now, look, here's if I take these like this. Now, this would be like a molecule. And these would be some heavy ones, and these would be a bunch of electrons collected. But look at the type of intricacy you can get. And look at the detail. You see these little lines running off here? This is, you can make some hell of an interesting patterns. And you see the way the white tips off there? Now, if I put another one out here, I'm going to get, look at what it does. You see how it makes the triangles in here? And then it makes a certain structure here, which opposes it here, but there's always, 1,000 times, always, white surrounds everything. There will never be any black on the outside of the white. I mean, you might find blackness looking black out there, that's fine. But surrounding a core of blackness, you will always find white. Sometimes it's strong, sometimes it's not strong, depends on the configuration. But you will always find a white around a black. Now, you're going to find white inside of here too, which is surrounding black. Yes. Because that's the way molecules are formed. And if you knew the complexity that was inside of every single molecule, you would flip your freaking mind out. Because instead of where they say there's like gold, as I think is 92, what is it, gold? There you, oh, I'm 79. Where did I come up with 92? Anyway, how did I do that? Okay, this is from a Mystery History channel on YouTube. Really great channel. Excellent stuff. Always little short clips about, you know, mysteries. I love that stuff. Now, another one that is fabulous is Woodward TV. Fabulous guy. And he's getting into the, you know, a lot of religious texts and things, which that's totally valid to look at now, because all of this stuff was written about, and we laughed at it. We just think this is just some silly people making up silly things. Now watch this now. Here, I'm just going to turn the sound off on this, but look at, hold on. Let me get back here. They talk about finding all of these artifacts all over the world. Nobody can explain. Now, well, as you're looking at this, remember what I showed you before was that dark spot. Let me show you again. You know what? I can do my special lighting now. Boom. All right, as I showed you before, this creates these white spots and so forth. Now, when I show you our light experiments, you're going to see that they come in multi-rings. They're not just one big ring around a ball. And I'll show you that in a second, but watch this. Here it goes, up this thing. Now, notice this. There's this line of dots, this line of dots, line of dots, line of dots, line of dots, line of dots. What does that symbolize? And why do they have that? And then why do they have this big expansive thing, ball that does this in the middle? That's how I'm seeing these balls being crushed and coming back, crushed and coming back. Because this is exactly what our atmosphere does. You see these lines? We have the same thing in our atmosphere. You say, oh, Roger, how can you prove that? I can prove it very easily. When they set off atomic bombs, you see the bomb go off and it goes poof, 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 poof. And you see these lines show up in the atmosphere. What do you think is happening? It's the reverse of coming down, it's going up. You're sending up particles that are bazillion miles an hour. They're slamming into these particles, making a white line, forcing those particles in against these particles, which are balls, exactly like this. All right, so right in between this particle line and this particle line is this ball, which is this. When this one comes up, pushes it this way, that has to go up. It pushes back this way. So you get this effect, but it does. It pushes up and then it pushes back, but it pushes up. It pushes back, it pushes up. It pushes back, it pushes up. Boom, 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 boom. And you see as many layers until it stops concussing enough to layerize. But they're up there. Now, coming this way, it looks to me like they knew this. And there will be different energy levels at different concussive distances. That's why you see so many lines around this one, and the ball is small. This one, a gigantic ball and a little line. This one, semi, and so forth. Now, I don't know if this is really factual or not, but let me come back here and show one more thing, because this is, I believe, where it finally gets through the atmosphere, and this is the very low layers of the atmosphere. When it does this. This is like where it starts to rain and all that stuff right down. Because when you see the nuclear bombs go off, you go poof, 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 and that's about it. You get that. Then above that, we still have layers of atmosphere, a bazillion of them. And then at the top layer, or the top layers, it scrubs these particles, which are nothing more, oops, wow. Some of those magnets are strong. Is nothing more than these particles. And as the Earth scrubs through them, because they're out in outer space, they're all over. These are the same things coming from the sun. Exact same identical particles are light coming from the sun. Where do you think we get heated up from? Well, how do you think a solar panel gets excited? It's insane to think that there's waves and there's no particles. They're obviously particles, and I will show them, and I probably already did, but I at least showed you these, what they look like. And they will look exactly like that. And then they will break apart exactly like this. And as we scrub through these particles, they react and create electricity and force and force and force and force and force and force, and then they just lay out across the Earth. All right, so here it goes. This, like I said, I believe is the lowest layers of the atmosphere splayed out this way. I don't think that's an accident that they did this, but it could be. Now, watch it as it comes down. You see the different, again, almost nothing here. Big one. And then those are the layers, I believe, that are the concussive layers. Now up here, you see this? A double layer. Why? Why a double layer? Why another double layer here? I can tell you why. This is where the major scrub is going on in the atmosphere. To me, this is the spinning Earth. And each one of these is layers of light coming down and banging through. However, this one is where we scrub from space coming down. This is where the major scrub is. This is where the electricity is created that creates lightning and static and all the major interactions and adds to our atmosphere. That's what I believe. That's the only reason I can see for that. And then it comes up, and up here, I believe right here is our magnetosphere, is where this is, the particles are coming in, they're pushing, banging, and then we start to create electrons. The electrons start to come down, and then they come down, as I showed you, down to that double layer, which is here. So the electrons were up here, and then they start to accumulate up in here, and bang, this is where the scrub takes, because they'll start to make a layer up in here that we're scrubbing against. And it'll look compact against these layers. That's the only thing I could take away from that. Now I could be totally wrong, you know, I just hallucinate a lot. Now, here it looks like these are the particles of light, and they show them in the bells of light really coming down against the Earth. They're all over the Earth. There's pictographs that if anybody really pays attention, they look like things. And you can see this. I believe that's where the magnetosphere begins to start to take effect, and these particles are pushed back and forth. Now, I guess it was 4 or 5 of these. I guess 4. And they may all have had competing theories of what the light was coming down. I don't know, because they're all a little bit different, but they're all a little bit the same. Maybe they were just like, they think they're different sects of a cult that was crazy people. Walking around with little tinfoil hats, only they're made out of gold. All right, and I can tell you right now, in the layers of the atmosphere, there are different concentrations of elements that are more prevalent. You know, they mix, but it's just like specific gravity. Specific gravity means that and I show this in the mud fossils, the more dense the material is, the further it pushes down through the other organic material, and the metals collect at the bottom. I have a toe around here somewhere. It is right here. It's all metal. See that? That's literally a toe. All right, I know I'm going to a whole nother realm, but this is a toe, and that's the blood from the toe right there. Now, what happens in this case is the specific gravity let all the blood run down. That's the bone right there. There's a little bit, tiny bit of bone left. All the blood ran down, and because of the clot in the blood, it filtered, and all the metals started to collect here. All right, specific gravity, though, makes these things run down to certain depths in the ground. And when they find gold, sometimes they'll find copper, then the gold, and so forth, which is the different weights of the different minerals. And just like this, I believe maybe they are designating what these things represent in the layers of the atmosphere. I don't know. But that's just, I'm just throwing that out there. Okay, I think I told you about the electron flood theory, and this is the electron flood, and this is the electron separated when it does this. and separates from the dark particle. The dark particles are around the outside of all of this. This is this electron coming at us, the electron flood. Now, these are where the particles are, and I believe that little spot right dead in the center there. You see that? They all have one of those. Now the purple and the blue one here are very interesting because normally they're all the same. This is all coming from a red laser. You see, that's the particles. But when it comes, it's spinning so fast. It's at this point, it's just an electron as far as I can determine, and it's spinning so fast that it's creating all of these circles around it as it's spinning like this coming out. Now, at the same time, it's concussing with what's in front of it, so it's becoming illuminated. Now, why is that blue if everything's coming from a red laser? Blue is a much more energetic particle than red. Well, what I found, and this is the only time I've seen this that I can recall, is that this particle here was originally red at some point. However, you see this? And this, and this. Somehow, another interference electron forced this electron and crushed it. There's only one thing that can happen when you crush a moving particle. Alright, it can either expand like crazy, like hit, or you can pinch it and it will elongate, and it will, all of the any spikes coming off of here will be removed. This is what they just did at MIT and I forget who else it was, MIT and somebody else. They used Rodney's Venturi to trim the excessive pulses. And you can do it through a Venturi. You can trim them from spikes, which I think they call a shot noise. And you can also keep them from doing this elongation thing by putting them in a tunnel, I believe. And I believe is exactly what they're doing. Somebody alerted me to the fact that they're using our Venturi. And that's fine. Everybody can use it. I don't think Rodney has any stipulation against anybody using it. We've been showing it for years. But Rodney should be the one that gets credit for he did it just by accident. He sent these pictures, and when I saw it, I said, whoa, I know what's going on here, man. And he did all kinds of help looking into this to help me prove my electron flood theory. And at the same time, he was just, I know he's having a real good time because he gets excited when he comes up with all these things. And, I know he doesn't know what he's getting on there, but he's looking for things that could represent life within this light. Because I'm telling you right now, they say the light is in the life. The life is in the light. And everything that I have found shows that we don't really understand what we're doing yet. So I wouldn't dismiss anything. And I can tell you right now, this is light accelerating. This is like disassociating for other particles of light. This is where our regular light matter is. Surrounding it is the dark matter, or those black balls. And here they are right now. Those are the dark matter balls. When they crash into the Venturi, being associated and attached moments ago in this configuration, as they smash here. Can you see me? Yes, you can. As they smash into the Venturi, they just fall apart. Instead of being like a photon or even an electron, they become what they would call a muon, And these are electron neutrinos, electron showers. And here comes the electron showers, and here comes the black ball, which is the muon, reattaching. So this is gravitational. It wants to be attached, but it doesn't want to be in here. This is not where it will, not a single one's in there. But it comes back as soon as these guys calm down. And then you get this coming out the back here. Now, absolutely critical to understand, white will always surround the black. Always, 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 always. There will be white around the black. When they can get together, the black doesn't mind being right next to each other. You see this? The blacks, they don't touch. They touch, no problem. I'm okay. You're okay, I'm okay, we no problem. However, the white gets next to the black and they push apart. So that's what keeps everything separated, is between the black and the white particles. Like this right here, you see them pushing apart? They will push apart like this. They'll get to a point where they'll reattach, but they'll push apart. Now, these are what they call the interference patterns. Well, they're not really interference patterns. These are the repulsion patterns of this row of electrons pushing away from this other row of electrons. You see them? They're trying to get back together, but they still want to be away from the other guys. So the black particles say, okay, I'll come with you, I'll go with you, I'll come with you, I'll go with you. So, and they keep these lines, what they call the interference patterns, not interference patterns, they're repulsion of their white neighbors. They don't want them around each other. Eventually they'll reattach and they will become light again, which is just normal particles. But just prior to them exploding, they were these red electrons, just like this. Here they were. They were coming through the air, heading towards the Venturi. They start to get bright. Here they're not so bright. Starting to get a little brighter because it's starting to crushing this way against the Venturi. Now it's crushing more. And the particle nature is starting to push spikes up and down. You see it? And then it starts to glow extreme, and then it explodes at the Venturi, and it falls into pieces. And that's when you get this. So it started out like this, is that the photon. And when it hit the Venturi, it just exploded into pieces. Now, then the black balls, which are now disassociated from the white over here, they go out around the explosiveness and they come back in, which I think, go back and look at it again if it doesn't make sense to you, because I think that's about as sensible as I can make it. Now here's the same thing, the same particle, but green is more, it's spit out at like a faster bullet. Think of these as bullets. And one of them is just the same size bullet, but just one of them has more power than the other one, more charge spit it out. Now, what happens with these, they spin, and they do a right-hand spin, and I think I might be able to account for that, because only part of this is energetic. These don't have any impact value whatsoever. The black ones, no, they just don't care. Bang, nothing, absolutely nothing. The only thing they want to do is get back together with the white particles. They don't emit, they don't absorb, they don't reflect, they don't concuss. They just get out of the way of explosions. And then when they're out of the explosion's over, they get back together with the particle that had exploded. That is exactly what you see. Now, why do I say that's more powerful than the red one? Here's why. All right, Rod Warren is the one that originally came up with the Venturi, and then I put out a whole batch of things and said, would anybody else look into this? And Fabien Boulet, I believe he's in France, sent me these same experiments using the same sort of stuff. A very powerful green laser, and then he shows the same particles that Rod was showing, not quite in the same quality shots, but watch this. This is very cool. Here's where he does the red and the green same time. Now, again, they send me these things and say, what do you think? you know, and so here's what I think. So nobody's making any claims other than I'm sort of thinking this is what I see. The red laser is not nearly as powerful as the green. The green is extremely strong, which means it's going to concuss with the particles it crashes into, which are the same particles these are crashing into, because it's the same space. Now, when it hits them, what does it do? It bashes them, they got to get the hell out of the way. Well, what happens to them? It pushes them this way. Well, why are they glowing here and not glowing right there? Because this is pushing some up that way at the same time. But this, because it's more concussive value, pushes down harder, so it even, pushes the red, and not only does it push the red down this way, it pushes all of it down this way. So you still see the laser beam, but its influence is pushed down. You see it? And it's actually even the red is taking it over, it appears. And, there's a lot to know about, or think about here, I don't know. Now, a couple little reds got through. So we can see they're different particles. They're absolutely different particles, no question. Well, they're different particles. And they're different energetic values. And they are occupying similar regions at the same time. And we can see they are extremely obviously, that baby's done. These are just getting started. These puppies, they're just ready to go. That's case is closed for the red. And that's what you expect, exactly what you expect.